In this video, we will discuss how close ties with China can destroy the economy of Maldives. This is the list of presidents of Maldives. Currently, the president of Maldives is Mohammad Muizzu. He is known for his pro-China stance. Muizzu's predecessor was Mohammad Solih, and Solih's predecessor was Abdullah Yameen. Abdullah Yameen too was pro-China. During his tenure in 2017, Maldives signed a free trade agreement with China.
Yeah, boy.
However, Mohammad Solih stalled the free trade agreement after succeeding Yameen as the president.
Oh no.
Solih was aware that a free trade agreement with China could push Maldives into an economic crisis. That is why he stalled the free trade agreement, calling it a one-sided treaty. But then in 2023, Solih lost the presidential election to Mohammad Muizzu. In Muizzu's tenure, Maldives is on its way to reviving the free trade agreement with China. Now, Maldives stands to lose a lot due to this free trade agreement. Let us understand how. See, Maldives is a small island nation. It does not produce much and is an import-dependent economy. Maldives imports a lot from China while exporting little to China, resulting in a trade deficit. If we look at the data from 2022, Maldives imports from China were $3.5 billion, whereas Maldives exports to China were only $400 million. This indicates a trade deficit of over $3 billion for the year 2022 alone. Considering Maldives' GDP is around $6.5 billion, this trade deficit with China provides perspective on the significant trade imbalance between Maldives and China. Now, considering such a huge trade imbalance exists, signing a free trade agreement with China is not right for Maldives from an economic point of view. The free trade agreement will remove tariffs and barriers, resulting in the dumping of Chinese goods into Maldives. This will lead to a significant surge in China's exports to Maldives, further exacerbating the trade imbalance between the two countries. Now, Maldives doesn't have too much to export. So even after the free trade agreement, the country's exports to China will remain more or less the same. We are not going to witness a sudden major difference in exports. It is unlikely that the free trade agreement will result in a surge of Maldives exports to China. That means Maldives is not going to witness a significant growth in its export revenue after the free trade agreement. However, China's exports to Maldives will witness a surge after the free trade agreement. Chinese goods will flood the Maldives market. So instead of benefiting Maldives, the free trade agreement will hurt the island nation.
What?
The export revenue of Maldives will not increase much, but the import expenditure of the nation will increase significantly. The trade deficit will shoot up, and this could lead to a balance of payment crisis in Maldives. Further, the free trade agreement will eliminate the duties charged on Chinese goods entering Maldives. Chinese goods entering duty-free into the Maldives market means the loss of Maldives customs duty revenue. Additionally, increased payments due to the surge in imports from China will deplete Maldives' foreign exchange reserves. This could lead to a point where the import-dependent island nation finds that it does not have sufficient foreign exchange reserves to continue importing. Remember what happened with Pakistan and Sri Lanka? Amidst all these dangers to the Maldives economy, one sector that the country can rely upon is the tourism sector. The tourism sector generates significant revenue for the small island nation and is crucial for its economy. However, tourism depends on many external factors, and shocks like COVID-19 pandemic can disrupt it. As you can see in this graph, in 2020, when the lockdowns during COVID-19 killed the tourism industry, Maldives' external debt shot up. Here, the x-axis represents the year and the y-axis represents external debt as a percentage of GDP. So, when COVID-19 was at its peak, the external debt of Maldives rose to 86% of GDP. Although you would see that the external debt was rising year after year, during COVID-19 there was a sharp jump. There were many reasons behind it, but one important reason was the reduction in tourism revenue. The government was forced to borrow to meet the revenue shortfall. So, if the tourism sector takes a hit, it will definitely impact the Maldives economy negatively. Now, imagine for a moment if along with goods and services, China exports disease-causing organisms like the Wuhan virus. That would deal a fatal blow to the Maldives tourism industry and consequently the Maldives economy. This is another challenge whose possibility cannot be denied. And we haven't even begun to discuss the economic costs that Maldives will incur due to the climate change. A whole separate video could be made on this topic because climate change poses an existential threat to island countries like Maldives. Let Maldives deal with the upcoming balance of payment crisis first. Maldives' external debt is rising rapidly and the country is finding it challenging to meet external payment liabilities. The free trade agreement will further increase government debt, pushing Maldives to a position where the government will be forced to turn towards external borrowings and tax raises to meet debt liabilities. The IMF has warned that Maldives is at high risk of default. Now, do you understand why Mohammad Soli called the free trade agreement a one-sided treaty and stalled it? But Muizzu is hell-bent on reversing this step and reviving the FTA. It looks like Muizzu's short-term personal gains will lead to a long-term national loss. Maldives' external debt to GDP ratio is rising and the country is in a situation where it needs to borrow more to clear up its previous debt. This is a debt trap. Firstly, the government borrows, then it does not manage the resources properly. The disastrous policies lead to revenue shortfalls, forcing the government to borrow more, and the vicious cycle continues. The share of China in Maldives' debt obligations is increasing. After the free trade agreement, this will reach unsustainable levels. And that is when China's game begins. Maldives will be forced to work towards China's strategic interests. This is the infamous Chinese debt trap diplomacy. China's interest in Maldives stems from its strategic location in the Indian Ocean. Maldives is a pearl in China's string of pearls strategy. Ultimately, China aims to limit India's presence in the Indian Ocean and control the vital shipping lanes in the region. In pursuit of this goal, China is receiving help from the incumbent Maldives president Mohammad Muizzu. Under Muizzu's leadership, Maldives is rapidly strengthening its relations with China. Recently, Maldives and China signed numerous pacts for cooperating in various sectors such as the economy, tourism, and disaster risk management. On one hand, the Maldives government tries to boost its vital tourism sector by signing a pact with China, while on the other hand, it jeopardizes its tourism sector by spoiling relations with India due to its disastrous foreign policy. The Indian government is promoting tourism in Lakshadweep after the recent controversy. Angered by Maldives' anti-India stance and irresponsible statements, many Indians are cancelling their travel plans to Maldives. In a nutshell, Muizzu is repeating the mistakes of his mentor Abdullah Yameen. If he does not mend his ways, his country's dependency on China will increase, making the economic crisis in the nation inevitable. I hope better sense prevails in Maldives and the country somehow manages to save itself from becoming a pawn in China's Indo-Pacific game.